Miss Mackenzie, please remain in the witness box. I believe Sir Wilfrid has some questions for you.
I believe we can all appreciate how very devoted you were to your late mistress.
I was.
You had a great influence over her.
Aye. Maybe.
Now, on the last will Miss French made, that is to say the will she made last spring, she left almost the whole of her fortune to you. Were you aware of that fact?
She told me so. Oh, crooks, these charities. Expenses here, expenses there, and the money not going to the object that you give it to. I leave it to you, Janet, and you can do what you think is right and good.
And that was an expression of great trust on her part. In her present will, I understand, she has left you merely an annuity. The principal beneficiary is the prisoner, Leonard Vaux.
It would be wicked injustice if he ever touched a penny of that money.
Now, Miss French, you say, had not many friends and acquaintances. Now, why was that?
She didn't go out much.
So, when Miss French struck up this friendship with Leonard Vaux, it made you very sore and angry, didn't it?
I didn't like seeing my dear lady imposed upon.
But you have admitted that Mr. Vaux did not impose upon her. Perhaps you mean you did not like seeing someone else supplanting you as an influencer, Miss French.
She leaned on him a great deal, far more than was safe, I thought.
Far more than you personally liked.
I said that, but it was for her own good, I'm thinking.
So the prisoner had a great influence over Miss French, and she had a great affection for him. Is that right?
That is what it had come to.
So, if the prisoner were to ever ask her for any money, she would almost certainly have given him some, would she not?
I have not said that.
But he never received any money from her.
Oh, that was not from want of trying.
Returning to the night of October the 14th, you say you heard the prisoner and Miss French talking together. What did you hear them say?
Well, I didn't hear exactly what they were saying.
So you heard voices, or the murmur of voices.
They were laughing.
You heard a man's voice and a woman's voice, and they were laughing. Is that right? Well, I suggest that's exactly what you did hear. A man's voice and a woman's voice and laughter. You didn't hear what was said. What makes you say the man's voice was Leonard Vaux?
Well, I know his voice when I hear it.
The door was closed, was it not?
Aye, it was
You hear the murmur of voices through a closed door, and yet you swear that the man's voice was that of Leonard Vaux. I suggest, madam, that is mere prejudice on your part.
It was Leonard Vaux.
As I understand it, you passed the door twice, once going to your room, once going out. Is that right?
That is so.
You were no doubt in a hurry to retrieve your pattern and get back to your friend.
I was in no hurry. I had the whole evening.
What I am suggesting is that on both occasions you walked quickly past that door.
Well, I was there long enough to hear what I heard.
Oh, well, come now, Miss Mackenzie. Surely you don't wish to suggest to this jury that you were eavesdropping?
I was doing no such a thing. I've better things to do with my time.
Exactly. You are, of course, registered with the National Health Insurance?
That's so. 4 and 6 I have to pay up every week. That's a terrible amount of money for a working woman to pay.
Yes, many people feel that. I believe, Miss Mackenzie, that recently you have applied for a national hearing apparatus.
6 months ago I applied for it, and I got it yet.
So your hearing isn't very good, is that right?
Okay?
When I say to you, Miss Mackenzie, that you could not possibly recognize a voice through a closed door, how do you answer? Can you tell me what I just said?
I cannot hear anyone when they
In
mumble.
fact, you didn't hear what I just said, even though I'm standing but a few feet away from you and in an open court. Yet you say that behind a closed door with two people talking in an ordinary conversational tone, you definitely recognize the voice of Leonard Vaux as you swept past that door on 2 occasions.
It was him, I tell you, it was
What
him.
you mean is you wanted to be him. You have a preconceived notion.
Who else could it have been?
Exactly! Who else could it have been? That was the way your mind worked. Now, Miss Mackenzie, tell me, Was Miss French ever lonely in the evening all by herself?
Oh, nay, she wasn't lonely. She had her books from the library.
She listened to wireless, perhaps.
Oh, yes, she listened to the wireless.
She enjoyed a talk on it, perhaps, or a good play?
Oh, aye, she liked a good play.
Wasn't it possible that on the night you returned home and passed the door, what you really heard was the wireless switched on and a man and a woman's voice and laughter? There was a play, Lover's Leap, on the wireless that night.
It was not the wireless.
Oh? Why not?
Because the wireless was out for repairs all week. That's why.
Yes, well, it must have upset you very much, Miss Mackenzie, if you really thought Miss French intended to marry the prisoner.
Well, naturally, it upset me. It was a daft thing to do.
Well, for one thing, if Miss French did marry the prisoner, it is possible, isn't it, that he may have persuaded her to dismiss you.
She would never do such a thing. Not after all these years.
But you never know what anyone will do you? Not if they're strongly influenced by anyone.
Oh, yes. He would have used his influence. He would have done his best to make her get rid of me.
Oh, I see. You saw the prisoner as a very real menace to your present way of life at the time.
They would have changed everything.
Yes, very upsetting. No wonder you feel so bitterly against the prisoner.
My friend has been at great pains to extract from you an admission of vindictiveness towards the prisoner.
A pains extraction. Quite painful.
Did you really believe that your mistress might have married Leonard Vogel?
Oh, yes, indeed. I've said so.
Yes, indeed you do. In your view, had the prisoner such influence over Miss French, he could have persuaded her to dismiss you.
I would have liked to see him try. He'd have not succeeded.
Had the prisoner ever shown dislike of you in any way?
Oh, nay, he had his manners.
One last question, Miss Mackenzie. You say you heard Mr. Vogel's voice behind the closed door.
No.
Will you tell the jury how you knew it was his voice you heard?
You know a person's voice without hearing exactly what they are saying.
Thank you, Miss Mackenzie.
You may now stand down, Mr. Mackenzie.
Oh. Good morning.